there are still high expectations in Tuscaloosa this season, despite the fact that Alabama lost Herb Jones and they lost John Petty. Will the Crimson Tide still be able to defend at a high level with those two guys gone? Go ahead, and I just got to go get a package from my door real quick, so you're going to lose me in this video real quick.
Well, first of all, I think Alabama's backcourt's going to be the strength as opposed to having a point forward like him last year. So I think Keon Ellis is going to have to step up and have a big year. And I also think that Juwan Gary was a nice player for them. Now, is he going to get out there and do all the things defensively that Herb Jones did last year? Probably not, but he's going to be solid. What they will have this year, as opposed to last season, is a solid rim presence in Charles Bediako. Now, I know he's just a freshman, but the way Alabama plays, they're going to feed defenses right into his wheelhouse, which is using his athleticism and being around the bucket. They also added a player named Noah Gurley, who I think is much better than people are giving credit for out of the gate. Of course, we're giving all the credit to Quinterly. We're giving all the credit to Shackelford, but Noah Gurley was an excellent addition out of Furman University, right up the road from me, Fanta. Scored over 1,000 points in his first 4 years in college, and he's going to be somebody that's going to be relied upon in the offense. But as far as defense is concerned, they're going to need Bediako to be not much better because he's a freshman. They're going to need him to be a presence around the basket for Alabama to be as successful on the defensive end this year as they were last.
Yeah, so I kind of go back to the theory of a UCLA having an insane run, the Big Ten having kind of a disappointing March. Mm-hmm. Things sort of go back to the mean, right? So for Alabama, the year before last, they were 124th in defensive efficiency. They go up to being a top 10 KenPom defensive efficiency team. I think things kind of go more towards the mean. But just because you lose Herb Jones and his defensive presence, I agree with you. I like the upside quite a bit of Juwan Gary and think that he's someone who, when you look at the metrics last year when he was on the floor, there wasn't a heavy drop-off when Gary was on the floor for Alabama defensively. But
if he can stay healthy.
If he can stay healthy.
Which has been an issue.
We also talk about transfers. I agree with you on Noah Gurley, underrated. Our big theory is, who were you coached by before you transfer? Nimari Burnett is someone who has to round into form, but the fact is he was under a really good staff at Texas Tech. Now, I think that Alabama will not be as good defensively as they were last year, but I think that they have a chance to be better offensively because Javon Quinterly, over the course, down the stretch last season, towards the end, he was playing his very, very best basketball, finally understanding what Nate Oates wants him to do. And when you have Javon Quinterly and Jaden Shackelford manning that backcourt, really good things are going to happen to the Crimson Tide. They will not be as good defensively, but can they compensate for that with more experience among their guard play and a couple of impact transfers? Damn, do I trust Nate Oates. Yes, I like the Tide. They'll be different, but they'll still be very, very good.
I will say this. One, did we talk about Burnett's injury? He tore his ACL, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
we did not talk about it because I just left him off. But he didn't really stand out at Texas Tech anyway. I'm not sure. It would have taken him some time anyway. But he was a McDonald's All-American kid, so he would have.
But two, the other thing is, we talked about defense, right? I spoke with Nate Oates, I think it was late last week, early this week, and they love Keon Ellis. They think that Keon Ellis is going to be a guy that can step in and kind of play something similar to the role that Herb Jones did defensively. Now, the thing that made Herb Jones so effective is that you could put him on the ball, and he was awesome, or you could put him off the ball and let him play free safety because you had guys like John Petty that were just as good on the ball. And you have Herb Jones guarding a non-shooter. He can protect the rim. He can pick off passes on the weak side. Any ball that he grabs, he's able to kind of grab and go and bring up himself as a point guard. So that versatility, I think, is something that's going to hurt. But they're very high on Keon Ellis being able to kind of step in and play not the same role, but something a little bit similar. I also think it's worth noting that they do have it's a young size, but they do have a lot of like kind of big athletic bodies, live bodies around the basket. So I do think that there's going to be a little bit more rim protection just kind of inherent in their front line. But it's going to look, you have a freshman, you have Javon Quinterly, who's never going to be known for his defense, and you have Jaden Shackelford, who's probably going to play a lot of three this year. That team they're just never going to be great defensively. The question is going to be, can they be in the top 30 defensively? on Ken Palm, or is this going to be another situation where they're kind of like around the top 100? Because if they're around the top 100, that's going to significantly lower their floor. But as long as they're good enough defensively, Fanta, you hit the nail on the head. I do think this team is going to have enough offensive firepower to kind of outweigh that to a point. And